Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast, where the legal industry gets real. I'm your host, Etta Rosa, legal consultant, speaker, and founder of Etta Rosa LLC and the Limitless Paralegal Academy. This isn't your stuffy legal studies school lecture. We're talking mindset, money, modern workflows, and how to build a career and a life you don't need a vacation from. Let's cut the fluff, raise the bar, and change the game one conversation at a time. If you like what you hear, feel free to share and send us your feedback. Now let's talk paralegal. In this episode, I'm joined by Tracey Perkins for a timely conversation about the growing value of legal professionals outside the attorney role, especially paralegals and legal teams who keep firms moving forward. We're talking visibility, recognition, and what happens when law firms expand how they define value. Listen in for more. Hey guys, welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Today I'm super excited because I have another entrepreneur para with me that I found, of course, on LinkedIn. Hello, people. You know this by now that I love my LinkedIn, and no, I'm not getting even sponsored nor paid in any way, shape, or form with this. But anyways, without further ado, Tracey, I want to talk about you, who you are first, and then we can talk about all the wonderful things that you're doing for our paralegals.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your lovely platform. I love LinkedIn as well. You get to connect with people like you from all over the place. So thank you for having me. I am Tracey Perkins. I am currently a legal recruiting manager with Round Hill Search, but I like to call myself a forever paralegal. I am also a paralegal instructor for UCI for their ethics and legal career skills class. Also, I'm currently in process of being hired as an adjunct professor for the Santa Ana College for their bachelor's program for paralegals. So I'm just getting in where I can fit in. As you can hear and see, I have about 20 years of legal experience as a litigation paralegal all around the country, and law firms, boutiques, plaintiff side, defense side, just a range of experience. So what I try to do is just bring my culmination of experience and knowledge and just share it with the next generation or with people who want to feel empowered and inspired in this lovely profession that we're in. So thank you so much for having me.
I love it. And I love that education is the centerpiece of this amazing career that you have. I always am preaching to my listeners, my audience, my followers, what I call the limitless crew. I'm always preaching to them. You never stop at the classroom. Every day is a learning curve. Every day you have to, hone in on your skills, learn new ones, especially now with all this technology coming out and these new tools. Like, it's playtime, guys. We got to play, we got to learn, and we got to make it fun while it lasts, because most of these tools may not be here tomorrow, and we're gonna have to relearn stuff again and learn other new stuff, and it just happens, right? I always tell this story with my audience. When I first started as a paralegal, it was super vintage. What I call vintage, it's boxes of papers and outlet cover,
Yep. Yep.
converters and projectors, and
Yes.
now it's like you can just do a whole trial with an iPad. Okay, great, So
Exactly.
it's going to continuously grow. The legal industry, that's what it's supposed to do. Any industry, really, at this point, is supposed to grow. And I love that, education is definitely the center point. Aside from you obviously coming from a paralegal background, what made you actually educate legal professionals and get into this whole human resource, recruiting kind of educator mode?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Pretty much, Etta, I wanted to be that person that I didn't have, especially when I first started out in my paralegal career. How I started out, actually, I wanted to go to law school, thought I wanted to be an attorney. And I'm like, let me get some legal experience, just like most of us. I have this poli sci degree from UVA. Let me get some experience and see if this is really what I want to do. Started out as a file clerk, receptionist, everything under the sun until I got my first paralegal title at Steptoe and Johnson, amazing firm in Washington, D.C. And I kind of took that title and just ran with it, constantly learning on the job, constantly learning by making mistakes. And also, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from the Baltimore, D.C. area where you don't have to have a paralegal certificate or have a specific type of education to become a paralegal. So, what I really admire about states like Florida, California, is that they do have this robust paralegal education that I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I wish I would have had this coming out, and all of the resources and doors that would have opened for me, had I had that paralegal education, I think could have just propelled me further in my career and made me more ready on that first day at the job. So that's kind of what led me to wanting to educate and inspire and empower paralegals. It's like, I did that so you don't have to go through that, like sharing my experiences, from all of these different types of firms, learning the inner workings of the firm. And what I found when I did become a paralegal was that I fell in love with like the operation side of it, the people side of it,
Mm.
how teams function together for the success and the business strategy, for your clients. And I didn't want to be an attorney after that. I wanted to focus more on that aspect of it. So that's what kind of led me to the realm of education, more so because I also want to empower paralegals and legal professionals to understand that we make money for the firm as well. You're very important to law firms and legal departments everywhere. They cannot do it without us. So just understanding that and getting people to understand the profit center mindset, of you are a profit center, your brain is your IP, and that's the value that you bring to each legal team, each legal department, and each law firm, and every single client. So, what is your paralegal brand? What is your legal professional brand? What do you bring to the table? Why do I want you on or need you on my team for my client? So I just try to instill that from day one into my students. Is just get understanding that nuance. And I just feel like it'll better help you strategize and build your career.
Yeah, I love that. I love brain is your IP. I'm gonna quote you on that. That's
Yes,
amazing.
absolutely.
It's a different mindset, right? It's something that we preach, especially at the Etta Rosa LLC consulting firm. We do that day, excuse me, day in and day out because what we're trying to do is we're trying to empower the team so that the team can continue to make you money and hopefully more money, right?
Yes.
So, and everybody's like, well, you can't. I saw this. One of my colleagues sent me a video of these dancers because I used to be a dancer.
Oh,
So, and the coach, or I guess the head dancer, was kind of giving them like a motivational speech right before they were going on stage. And all of a sudden, in her motivational speech, though, she lost me, right? Because she said, I can't give you motivation. And I was like, yes, but you can lead by example, right? And you can inspire and ignite that motivation. So,
absolutely.
like, I understand where she was coming from, but it's like you got to plant the seed, you got to water it, you got to, really
Activate.
create that environment and activate it and really feed the environment in order to inspire and actually create the environment, right? So I get it, but I don't, and it was like,
Absolutely.
and as a dancer, I was like, that wouldn't be the best speech when I'm about to go on
Yeah,
stage.
you're
I
like,
want to
now
be like,
I'm kind of
let's
like,
go.
yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it very well, is you can inspire and activate people. Sometimes, what I think certain people like you obviously are good at is like pulling on that thread that you didn't even know was there. And that's how you can motivate people, not just by leading by example, but also by seeing that person, meeting them where they are, and understanding how you can pull those strengths out of them and turn those weaknesses into empowerment by getting better. So, I mean, yeah, I don't like that speech as a motivational speech. Um,
Sorry. No, but I agree with you there, and there's one thing I love that what you said about that is because I always say it all the time. Like I'm like, guys, you need to, um you need the buy-in, right? Like I'm always talking to the ops first, and it's kind of like half of your bottlenecks are what you created. You think it's your staff, but you're the ones that are creating this because you're leading them blind. And
Exactly.
so they don't know what to do if you don't even know what you need to do.
That
And so
part.
those like tough, those tough conversations we need to have, but with grace, of course. I don't say it as rough.
Absolutely.
Because if
But
not, I wouldn't have any clients. They'd be like, excuse you. I know
uh,
what I'm doing. I have a legal degree. I'm like, so do I. It doesn't matter.
but
So, anyways,
it is
let's talk
different from
about that.
operation in business.
Yes, exactly. So it's like a legal business and a law firm. Sometimes a lot of people don't understand the differences, right?
Exactly.
A law firm is a business.
Yep.
Uh, a lot of people don't get that, or I guess they find the disconnect and maybe doing that. You talk a lot about that, though. You talk a lot about bridging, those gaps and everything. And education's a great foundation, and then we need to build upon those foundations continuously, right? So I'm
Absolutely.
assuming, I don't know, I may be wrong, this is kind of what inspired you with the paraleader. And so let's get into that because that's really what got my attention on LinkedIn is when you announced it.
Mhm.
And I believe Stacy, which will also be on here, is doing something very good too, La Fecta. And so there's a lot of paralegal originators, right? We all originated from the paralegal trait where we're really proving showing up every day that, the paralegal traits are transferable, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the paraleader and let's talk about I guess, the inspiration and what got you into all that.
In the legal world, details win cases, and missing one can cost everything. That's why we're proud to be sponsored by a firm, Investigative Solutions. They partner with attorneys and legal teams to uncover the facts that matter most, from background investigations and witness locates to surveillance and asset searches. A firm, Investigative Solutions, is discreet, thorough, and laser-focused on supporting strong case strategy, so you can focus on advocating for your clients. If you need answers, not assumptions, visit affirmpi.com and schedule a free consultation. Affirm Investigative Solutions. Investigate before you litigate.
Yeah, great segue. So paraleader, actually, the word came about and kind of popped in my head. I had just done a presentation for LPI in the Sacramento Legal Professionals Association up in Sacramento, and it was on who's who in the law firm. And it was pretty
Mm,
much breaking down like where you see yourself as a legal professional, whether you're a legal assistant, a paralegal, if you call yourself a litigation secretary, how you can see yourself as like the Swiss Army knife of the firm, for example, or the Swiss Army knife of the team. Are you the one that's doing everything, the admin, the litigation aspect, or the corporate aspect of it? So it kind of stemmed, the idea came from that presentation, and it got me to thinking more about how pivotal we are. And then, of course, I just recently got my MBA. So, of course, it got me thinking more, yay, about how pivotal legal professionals and support staff are in the business strategy and operational strategy of a law firm. And I think
mm,
that's a major gap that we're missing is sometimes I don't think managing partners, HR, attorneys really understand that we're so much more than just support. And they're not utilizing us to the best of our capabilities and abilities. And they're leaving a lot of money on the table. And just with, like you said, these bottlenecks, these inefficiencies, because sometimes attorneys, and it's no diss, no shade. I love all my attorneys out there, but it's like you focus on the law, right? Let me project manage this. Let me take the reins, figure out what vendors to use, figure out where we're going to store everything. We're the problem solvers. We're on the ground. We're usually the ones really communicating with clients, opposing counsel, just kind of at the helm of all of this. But I think a lot of times in legal departments and law firms, we're seen as just support staff. And
right.
that's such an injustice and such a disservice to what we actually bring to the table, especially
Mhm.
people like you who can see it from the bird's eye view and say, this is what we need to do. This is the workflow that will create this type of process. Just thinking about it from the operational aspect and elevating communication between attorneys and support staff and paralegals, elevating communication between us and IT. I don't think people really realize all the time, especially from the attorney aspect, of how this stuff really is so interconnected. And if you do it from the top down in the beginning and get these workflows and processes in place from the start, that's something that you can continue to teach for every single matter. And it just makes you so much more efficient. And what people don't understand is that you actually increase profits by saving the client money, but adding value. So
Right.
really getting people to understand that. A lot of times, especially with like legal tech and AI is evolving, everyone's like, what's going to happen to the role of the paralegal? What's going to happen to the legal? What about billable hours? How are we going to be able to bill all of these hours now if we have these efficient processes? And it's like, your clients are going to keep coming back to you when you're winning cases. Actually, when you're saving them money, that's the more money they're going to spend with you. So thinking
Right.
about it, flipping that lens and thinking about it from that perspective, and that's kind of how Paraleader was birthed, is because I want legal professionals, especially paralegals, to lead without the title. You don't need to be a manager to still lead, to still be that ethical gatekeeper, that gatekeeper of technology. Etta, it's the paralegals that are leading the legal tech evolution. Attorneys don't want to touch this stuff, and they don't.
No.
So it's usually us that's going out there and finding the programs like, hey, we need to implement this in the law firm. We're the beta testers for a lot of this stuff. I remember at a lot of my firms, I was the first one to bring relativity to some firms that I was, I'm dating
Get it? Okay. Yeah, no. Relativity is still around. Shout out to our cat Casey. Love
yeah.
her.
Yeah. So like, I was at a firm and there we get in boxes and boxes of documents and they want me to scan it in. And I'm like, no, 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 we're not doing this. And
Mm-mm.
then being able to present the alternative to the attorneys, kind of like a business pitch of why we need to do this, why it's worth the investment to go with this e-discovery platform and the vendor. And, I was like the beta tester for Disco, for example. So usually
Yeah.
really the paralegals that are at the forefront of the evolution of the legal industry, especially ethics, legal technology, workflows, operations, and processes that leads to successful outcomes and what? Larger profits.
Absolutely. And I feel like that reverse mindset is what we kind of need right now. And to your point, though, I want to kind of get this added bonus as the consulting side of it is that our best COOs that I've ever worked with were paralegals.
Yes,
My
that
best
part. Yeah,
attorneys that now went to law
yep.
school, graduated, and
We're
run law
paralegals.
firms were paralegals. So
Absolutely.
it's like, I don't want, I know me as well. I started young in this industry as well. And we noticed that there was a lot of male representation versus females, and the females tend to be paralegals. And then back in the day, back in my day, there was this thing called legal support team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, okay, you guys are the legal support team. And I was like, okay, like what? I mean, why can I not be a partner? Why can't I be your right hand? Why can I just not be who I am, right? Like, why does it have to
Exactly.
be a legal support team? So
Right.
even in our advertisement, even when we actually pitch, even when we're presenting, doing PowerPoints or team building or all the things that we do in any company, it doesn't necessarily have to be a law firm because we do it for everything. You pair legal firms, we do it for legal tech companies. And so when we come in, they're like, these are legal teams. They
Yes,
work for the legal industry. It doesn't matter what they're composed of. They're in the legal industry. It's a legal team. Whether it's a
exactly.
support, this is not a call center, okay? We are
Right.
here. We are actually doing the cases, doing the
We're partners.
strategy. We're partners. We're
Yeah.
partner in this. I don't care what the bars say that we're not supposed to be part. No, no, no. Whether obviously we can't be on paper an official partner of the company yet. We are working on that. We are seeing some movement in Arizona and Texas specifically are moving towards that where the paralegal can eventually get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
But until we get there, we can still be the partner, right? We can still be the strategist side by side, working under the licensed attorney and,
Yep.
working within the rules. I never say working outside. You're just working within the rules, but you got to know what the rules are in order to work
Yep.
with it. And so nothing that we do, nothing that we train on is illegal. Actually, ethics is our number one ask because it
Hmm.
changes so often and
Yep.
it's always mandatory. In every
Yes.
bar, every
Yes.
bar association nationwide, ethics is a mandatory requirement to
Yes.
learn. And
Absolutely.
so it's for a reason though, right? Like it's for a reason. And I get that. And in every program, paralegal studies programs, master of law programs, even the program I did, the Juris Master program, we
You have
all
to
had
learn
an
ethics.
ethics course, right?
Yep.
It was required. It was in your core curriculum. It
Yep.
didn't matter. So it's
Exactly.
fine. Know the rules, work within the rules, and you'll be
Yep.
fine, right? We're not telling you to, you can color outside the lines with creativity, but
Yep.
not with your actual implementation. And that's kind of like the buy-in, right? That's another thing. So, oh my goodness. Okay, so when we're working from the top bottom, right? We're not talking to the bottom. We're just saying this is what we're going to implement, and then we're wondering why the team's not on board with it. And it's like, well, you
Right.
didn't have that conversation in the first place. So, I kind of discover it, or I kind of paint the picture like this. How about if somebody doesn't knock on your door, but your door was open? Open
Mhm.
the door. You know them, but you know them that well, and they just come in. They sit down. They take your cup of water. They do this, and they make themselves at home without even asking. Well, that's kind of the same equivalent of you guys just throwing stuff at them and being like, okay, let's see if this sticks. This is not pasta. We're not cooking in Italian cuisine. We're creating and building a business, right?
Exactly.
So understanding that there's a lot of differences and there's a lot of intricacies in between
Yes.
that we need to analyze. It's a plan that we need to work out and
Yes.
we need to do it as a team. No team wins a
Exactly.
championship without working together. I'm
Yep.
not sure where that concept got lost or, in translation in the legal industry. Having
Yeah.
said that, let's talk about takeaways. I want to give some tangible things to the audience so that they can always have something to take away after the episode. And of
Yep.
course, as always, guys, links to Tracy and all the things that she's doing are going to be on the description. So just click on there and you can communicate with her. Super friendly, very responsive, I promise you.
Yes, I am. I try to be. But I think some key takeaways are first and foremost, and this is kind of what I tell my students and when I do CLEs and all of that, take yourself serious. Again, we are not just support staff. That is such a disservice again to your actual brain and your IP and what you're bringing to the table. You've invested in yourself. You have this education, you have this experience, whatever have you, even if you're coming from a different industry, you have something to offer. And that's the first thing that I want everyone to understand. And especially in the legal industry, yes, there's a hierarchy. It's like, you have some firms where they just quite frankly don't appreciate legal assistants and paralegals and all of the people who don't have a JD or a bar or aren't barred and licensed as an attorney. But that doesn't mean that you devalue yourself. And what you do is you let your actions speak louder than your words. You don't have to go around like, hey, I am valuable. I'm that. You show them that you're valuable, for example, because we know that these law firms and these legal departments cannot run without us. And how many times will you get a project just plopped on your desk and you're expected to just figure it out, right?
Yep.
That's your time to shine. Pounce on that moment, be that person that immerses themselves in education, in evolution, and be the problem solver. So that's what I always stress to people is when you're the problem solver and people know that they can come to you or they don't even have to come to you because you're thinking 2 and 3 steps ahead already, that's how you increase your value without having to say it on a bullhorn. And trust me, when you start creating profits, again, paralegals, we bill our time 9 times out of 10, especially on the defense side. Or if you are on the plaintiff side and you may not necessarily be billing your time, you're the one that's liaising with the client, most likely. Of course, we don't want you to give legal advice, but just making sure Everything is in place. The matters are managed to a high level and a high degree. We can find what we need to find in the middle of trial, in the middle of the courtroom. We can find that exhibit. I've made exhibits in the middle of the courtroom. So just little things like that. Like I said, leading without the title, leading beyond the desk, and just showing up with your value and your IP, which is your brain, your intellectual property. That's what's going to set you apart.
Right. I always say that. And I always say be proactive, not reactive, which is what you were saying. The
Yep.
more you are a few steps ahead, the more you actually look at your caseload and your situation in its entirety versus that one moment. One, it decreases burnout, chances of burnout and anxiety because you're not anxious and reacting all the time.
Exactly.
Two, you're more at ease and your brain can actually focus on the task at hand. And three, you're going to be a showstopper. You're going to be that superstar paralegal where you find what we used to call in the legal, in personal injury, we call the golden ticket when we
Yes.
find that one thing that wins us the case.
The
And
smoking gun.
I was always a golden ticket girl. I was like, let's go,
Yeah.
Charlie. We got this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that was our thing. And so I would always say, let's go, Charlie. We got this. And then nobody was named Charlie, guys. It was Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. It's the golden ticket. Like, don't
Yes.
take it too far. It was just one of our things that we all grew up with because we're all millennials and we grew up with
Yep.
Charlie and the
Oh,
Chocolate
yeah.
Factory.
I
And
love
so
it.
I would, yeah, so I was like, let's go, Charlie, we got this. And I'm like, and
Yeah.
so somebody
And
else
it's
would yell out, let's
fun.
create chocolate.
It's fun. It's fun. Like you said, you find the golden ticket. That just makes it fun, to
Yeah.
show up. I'm such a nerd. I love litigation. I love going to trial.
Yes.
Such a nerd, like in that aspect. But it was so fun to me to kind of
Yeah.
be that person, find the needle in a haystack, and surprise my attorneys. And
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
everyone loves when they get that firm-wide email blast and you're part of that team. So yeah, just
And
elevate.
everybody has their strengths too, right? Because I realize that not a lot of people will like litigation, which is fine. But I had this really great colleague of mine that she had no interest in moving to litigation. But
Mhm.
she loved the intake process because she loved talking to the clients and creating that initial experience. Like that was her thing. So later
Very
on,
important.
exactly. So later on, what the firm did with her was they put her in the marketing because she was great at it. She knew
Wow.
exactly what to ask, she knew exactly what to do, and everything else. And so, guys, it doesn't matter where you're at the law firm, there's always room for growth, and
Absolutely.
opportunities are created, they don't come to you, right? Like you
Yes,
create those opportunities.
that's
So
right.
just make sure that you stay on task and follow everything that Tracy just said. Please, please, please.
Absolutely. And making
All
sure when
right.
you are, from my recruiter hat perspective, when you are
Yeah.
going for these interviews and making sure you're putting some of those wins on your resume, quantifying your achievements, like, hey, decrease discovery review time by 30%, things like that. That's the paraleader way as well. It starts from the resume, also the interview, just showing how you add value to the firm.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Everything about you. I love the mission. I love Paraleader. I think it's going to be great. And I think it's something that's very needed. I see a lot of paralegals, like I said earlier in the episode, a lot of paralegals stepping up to the plate, providing those voices that are so needed. And a perfect shirt to wear today, even though you can't see it. I'm wearing my RBG shirt. And I didn't even realize that earlier today. I also had the mug, and my husband's like, what is up with you today? And I was like, I don't know. It's just like I'm channeling this vibe today. So that's what's happening. Anyways, I digress. Until justice is served, until next time. Bye, guys.
Hi, thank you, Etta.
Hey, legal pros, are you ready to stop playing small? The Limitless Paralegal Academy is officially open, offering powerhouse courses, real world tools, and expert led training to help you build the career and life you actually want. We're not stopping there. The Limitless Paralegal Tour is hitting the road. We're bringing the mindset shifts, career strategies, and community straight to your city with epic speakers, actionable sessions, and zero boring PowerPoints. This isn't your average CLE. This is your legal career reimagined. Join the Academy, meet us on tour, become the legal pro everyone remembers. Visit limitlessparalegals.com to enroll and grab your ticket now. Be bold, be brilliant, but most importantly, be limitless.